It's Lillard. He got the shot off. Lillard, good!
You're now in the House of Blazers. Welcome to the house.
Off the feed from Lillard.
Live from Blair Alley Vintage Arcade. Welcome to the House of Blazers.
So we're going to talk about the all-time favorite Jailblazer era players.
This
Not
is one
a
of my
starting
favorite.
five, more just your favorite players.
It's yeah, we're just having a little forum, a little public forum about the Jailblazer era, and and I want to broaden it a little bit. Go ahead and say it's any Blazer, criminal record, speeding, disorderly conduct,
Fighting.
who should be on the Blazer roster during the Jailblazer era. Any player from any era, right?
Oh, I think it's any player from any era, and certainly players from the Jailblazer era. I'm just saying you can pick. I think you
Who's
can
your
pick.
favorite bad
who's
boy?
your favorite bad guy for the Blazers, the Jailblazer style guy?
So like Maurice Lucas.
I'd say Maurice Lucas is right there. I mean, he beat fools to the ground on the basketball court on national TV.
He turned a series around with one punch.
And he was a great player. Some Jailblazers weren't as great of players.
Yeah, that's true.
Maurice was a good Jailblazer. He's
No,
the guy
Maurice-
that you would have wanted to go drinking with him late night because he would have had your back no matter where you
No,
went.
he's in my top five Jailblazer for sure.
But there is the obvious. You can,
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, they had the Jailblazer era. We're talking about 98, 99, 2000, 2001 era. There was a lot of Blazers got in a little trouble. Got in a little trouble with the law, got in trouble with the NBA. And the list is probably 8 to 12 players
Well,
deep.
one of my favorite players
Who was
got in a little trouble. He's a high flyer. Mr. J.R. Ryder.
Mr. Isaiah.
He was, his list went on for a long time. The law followed him around.
He liked to talk. He liked to say whatever was on his mind. He didn't try to mince
And
words.
he liked the marijuana.
Well, yeah, not only did he like the Mary Jane, and also he liked to do stupid things like be smoking Mary Jane out of a pop can in Lake Oswego in a car parked.
You're in the NBA, man. A pop can?
I
Also,
know.
he made some references, I think, as he exited the Blazers and he was with his new team, they made some reference to being with the Blazers, and he even dropped a little N-word comment saying they still hang N-words down there in Oregon. Wasn't it J.R. Ryder that said that, or was that Rasheed Wallace that
no,
said that?
JR said that. He
JR
said,
said
he
that.
thought they were just still hanging him.
Yeah, still
And burning
hanging.
crosses. I think.
Still doing it right down there in Grants Pass, Oregon. Now, it has a colorful history, I'll give you that, but I don't think that's going on.
No.
Sorry, Grants Pass, that Isaiah said such a thing.
Speaking of Rasheed Wallace, that'd have to be my favorite. I don't know if I stole that from you or not,
You
Coach.
didn't
but
steal it all. That's your player.
I thought he's like that iconic character for
He
the
spoke his
Jailblazer
mind.
era. He smoked. He's the guy you would roll down Burnside with, smoking a big old fat blunt and not have a care in the world.
In his old Ford Bronco
In his
from
old
the
Ford
80s.
Bronco from the 80s. My grandpa had one of those. I know what it's like to ride in that thing.
Oh,
Rasheed-
It'd be fun to
He
party.
also
Greatest.
led the league in technical fouls several years.
He certainly did lead the league in technical
He
fouls, but there was
set
something
records.
There was
He set
something Robin
records.
Hood. There was something Robin Hood about Rasheed Wallace. He was the villain we all wanted to love. He did lead the league in technical fouls, and it definitely harmed the Blazers and lost us games. But there's another thing that he did. He had a vendetta against Tim Donaghy.
Oh,
Tim
yes,
Donaghy,
he
one of
knew.
the most crooked referees in the NBA. Isn't it sort of climactic that Rasheed Wallace has a almost fisticuffs engagement with Tim Donaghy on the back steps of the old Rose Garden? And yet, he's the guy to get kicked out of the league, and now Rasheed Wallace is a celebrated player for eternity.
Oh, he's the anti-hero.
He's the anti-hero. He's the wonderful thing about movies. He's probably one of my favorite Jailblazers that you want to love is Rasheed Wallace. But, there's other better ones. Who could forget Quintel Woods? He was out there in Lake Oswego
dog fighter.
fighting the dogs.
Oh, that guy was a good player, man. He was a mean old man.
Quintel?
Quintel, he's a badass.
Quintel, when he was a rookie for the Blazers, I think he won
He
the
was a
Rookie
man.
of the League for the Salt Lake City Rocky Mountain
Summer
Review.
League MVP.
Summer
He
League
averaged
MVP.
like 32 points a game. People were like, "Oh man, this guy's
He
going
was
to be
Was he
good."
fresh out of high school?
Yeah,
Was he a high
he's
school
community
player?
college, I think.
Yeah, he was a CC kid. He was rangy, big, long, and rangy, and quick, and could dunk with
He
authority.
was about 6'7", had long arms, and was mean.
Whatever happened to him?
He went over to Europe and starred over there and was a badass. He
Really?
looked like he was like a, I don't know, he had this little fro and a goatee. He just looked
couldn't-
mean.
He couldn't do nothing in the NBA, though?
Well, he got blackballed out.
You know, one of the
Basically, because he was
Michael Vick.
dogfighting and
he did get blackballed
dumping
from the
dead
league.
animals or something.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
he
a good
got
way
hit
to
for
get blackballed.
marijuana, and then dumping broken dogs on the Humane Society, saying he didn't know what happened to him.
Good thing he wasn't. He was like the pre-Michael Vick.
You want to
What
make a hippie
happened?
cry? Take a beat up dog to the. I don't know how he just gets in a fight. That's what happens. You mind taking him? He's dying.
Look, Mr. Woods, it was a great game last night, but this is the 5th pit bull you brought in with a ripped throat.
But yeah, if you want to see what kind of a player he was, just look him up on Euro in some kind of European competition. He was just a 6'7" rangy guy, kind of like what Freddie Jones was at Oregon. Just could go to the hoop, had long arms with dunks, and could shoot threes.
I really enjoyed Stacey Ogman. He would be part of my Jailblazer squad. He wasn't in that necessarily that Jailblazer era. You know, he wasn't getting arrested or
kind of a
anything like
thug,
that.
right?
But he was a thug,
Don't you have
straight
a
thug.
Plastic Man story?
Well,
about-
I'll even absolutely have a Plastic Man story. I'll try to make it quick. I actually heard this story once on AM radio in Portland when I was listening, like shaving, getting ready for a photo shoot I had to do. And I hear this story about people following the bus from another team, players from another team following the Blazers bus and calling them out for a gunfight. The bus driver has to go out, the security has to go out, and Stacey Ogman was the only guy to make the call to get him to call him off. And it was a semi-gang related thing. And I actually corroborated the story with Brian Wheeler when we were at the Fan Fest here in Eugene. I walked up to him, asked about it, and Brian closed his eyes and shook his head. Yes, that did happen, and it was one of the scariest moments. And it's Stacey Ogman made a phone call and called off. They were getting followed all the way to the airport by an SUV, and I can't remember the names of the players and whatnot.
Chris Mills from the Golden State Warriors.
It was
wanted
Chris
to
Mills
fight.
from the- it was.
Stacey Ogman didn't even play for the Blazers either.
No, they had to call him.
Yeah,
they
they
had to
called
call
him.
him.
Yeah, because Chris Mills was like from Oakland or something like that, and he was like a gangster from
Supposedly
Oakland.
what happened, Chris Mills calls Stacey Ogman and goes, "Yo, you better tell your boys from the Blazers they're about to get popped."
What?
And then Stacey,
I don't know. He didn't.
who
That
knows
sounds
what he
crazy.
said? Who knows what he said? But then
No.
he-
They some guy on the bus, I can't remember who he said called it, but yeah, he said that he called Stacey Ogman and maybe
Called
it was-
him right off.
Yeah, called him
Well,
right
so
off.
what about? And he wasn't really a thug with the Blazers. Sebastian Telfer had a little bit of ties.
well, I don't know.
gun
He was
ties,
kind of thuggy, man. He tried to bring a gun on Blazer 1.
Yeah, that's kind
A
of
gun.
That's
Well,
kind of
who's patting
gangsta.
you down on Blazer 1, though?
Well, you got a security guy that
gotta
follows
go-
you
yeah,
around.
because
Well-
you gotta take off from the airport in a plane like
Yeah, you
that.
still got to go through the airport.
Yeah, he got caught.
Didn't Dame
Dumbass.
have a
James got
gun?
caught with 1.5 ounces of marijuana wrapped in
Marinara
tinfoil.
sauce.
Wrapped in tinfoil.
He tried to get it
Dude,
through.
what's up with these pop cans? and
I
tin
heard a
foils?
rumor.
Yeah, we're not
I
that
heard
ghetto
a
here in
rumor.
Oregon,
Just
all right?
imagine how thug this is. I heard a rumor that when they asked Mr. Stoudemire, go ahead and empty your pockets, he drops an ounce and a half in tinfoil in the bowl. They go, Mr. Stoudemire, what's that? I guess what he said was, "What do you
medicine?
think it is?"
See, Damon Stoudemire does not scratch me as a thug.
Not at all. But you know, when they searched his house,
He's from Portland,
But
Oregon.
when they
just don't give
searched
a,
his house,
you know.
in
No, they weren't
Portland-
searching his house. They were looking because his door was wide open, right?
Yeah, it was wide open. But then they walked in. They didn't mean to search it.
They were there for some kind of other call, and they went in, and they weren't there for looking for what they found, so they couldn't bust him for that.
They found a bunch of weed, like a pile of
Bunch.
weed.
Bunch.
I mean,
Yeah.
now that marijuana's legal in Oregon, I don't think it's a performing enhancing drug by any means. You're not going to fly higher. Well, you might fly a little higher, but
Oh, you
you're
should
not gonna
get
jump higher.
you get like golf. You get a handicap. If all your players are blowing weed, you should get a +8 on the score.
Yeah,
Jeez.
because they're slower.
I'd
slower.
I'd rather have them be sober. I
also-
want them to perform.
Well, of course we want them sober, but we're trying to be a little funny about
yeah,
tongue in
yeah.
cheek because imagine what Stoudemire could have been not blowing weed.
Yeah,
Well, they just probably didn't want to get on those painkillers. Basically, they were like,
Right.
after the game, they wanted to relax, but most of the guys would be taking like little popping pills and stuff.
You know, that's a unique perspective, Coach. I've never thought of it that way, but if you're playing a hard game, pounding your knees every night, going to
yeah.
practice 4 times a week, and then playing back-to-backs,
My knees would be
hell,
hurting like
you want to go to
crazy.
bed, you want to sleep, and you want your body to repair. So I could see even using it medicinally, and that
Yeah,
way put your
relaxing.
ass to sleep.
Yeah.
that's fine. But why are you cruising around the streets of Portland smoking on a pop can in a Burger King parking lot
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Oswego?
I don't know about that part, but
You don't need to do
Well,
that.
That's
hey,
pretty
Zach
stupid.
Randolph got hit on Burnside in his Escalade blowing weed. Damon Stoudemire got caught blowing weed with Rasheed Wallace driving back from a Sonics game. They all have got popped. Quintel Woods got popped for weed. Stoudemire got popped for weed multiple times.
J.R. Ryder
Rasheed
got
Wallace.
popped.
J.R. Ryder got popped. I
Blazers-
think it's a commonality. Now it's legal in Oregon. What are they
Blazers
going to do
Chad,
now?
I
Well,
you
I
were
think
like
at that time they were
you
just
were the
looking.
first person I ever heard use the term blowing weed. I have never heard that in my life.
Blowing weed?
You guys are old as hell. That's why
Thank
I
you.
love these
We
topics.
are. Thank
I'm
you.
way younger than these guys, and they're old as hell. You
He's
got
like
these
15.
crazy stories and your analogies, and I'm just like,
Well, the
wow.
jailblazers and marijuana go hand in hand, but there's
Well,
also
And the Jailblazers were a real thing.
they were kind of a black eye on the program. Who was the coach at the time?
Maurice?
Maurice Cheeks probably because
Yeah,
he was
and he's kind of
he's just a player coach. He's like, here, when the game comes, I'll tell you what to do, but otherwise, you guys just do whatever you
Bonzi
want.
Wells, another
Ruben
jailblazer.
Patterson.
Ruben
Sex
Patterson.
offender Ruben
the-
Patterson.
Ruben.
Nanny,
offender.
the nanny
He was a
raper.
sex offender.
He was a
had to
nanny
go door to
raper.
door and
Well, he
say,
beat
"I
his
just
wife
moved into your
and-
neighborhood."
Well,
He hooked up with a 17-year-old babysitter.
domestic violence and alleged nanny raping.
Statutory rape.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it was pretty scary. At that point, the Blazers were willing to take anything. But you guys are forgetting one of the biggest, and I mean that literally the biggest jailblazer of them all, Mr. Sean Kemp.
Oh, cocaine
Oh,
Kemp.
Oh,
Cocaine
wow.
Camp.
I thought it was so awesome when we got him because I didn't really know what was
Me
going
too.
on with Kemp in Cleveland. And then all of a sudden we got him. I was like, what the heck?
Is this
Where
Sean
did it happen?
Kemp? What happened to the 50 pounds he packed
Yeah,
on?
is this Sean Kemp and his little brother in his jersey?
Yeah, he was fat, he was bloated, he was
Hating on
high,
him.
And we were playing him at center.
and we had to pay for his drug rehab and
Yes,
his
we
$40
did.
million contract.
Yes, we did.
It was
And that's
way
probably
too
some
much
deal
for
that old
guy.
trader Bob Whitsitt made with Sean. Said, Sean, you got a problem. I'm going to pay
Can
for
we
it.
go ahead and king him as the greatest jailblazer?
Are we there? Is that it? Is that a drum roll? What do you think? Sean Kemp is the greatest jailblazer of all time?
for
Cost
much-
us the most money.
The most money.
What
the most
about
mayhem.
Jermaine O'Neal as a jailblazer?
He did nothing.
He was kind of
When did the malice at the palace?
He was at the Malice at the Palace. He didn't do anything.
He knocked that little Mexican guy out, man. That dude came out onto the court.
it was a fan.
He was all like, the little guy was all, what? And then all of a sudden, Jermaine O'Neal came with his haymaker
Oh, it was
from
a
Bryce.
haymaker.
Freddie Jones.
Wham,
I remember
bam.
when I watched that live, and I stood up, and I was just like seeing it live at the at a bar or something. Fight. That was the most craziest.
That was crazy
I couldn't believe
town.
what I was watching.
I couldn't
Oh.
believe what was going on in the
That'll
stands.
never happen again.
I remember because I just gotten league pass it was my second year I had league pass, and I had it, and I was at work during the game, and I got home, and I heard it on the radio, and I was like, oh, I gotta go home and see this. And so all the newscasts were showing everything, and the game was still going. I think
Heavily
It hadn't even ended.
replayed. ESPN was all over it. You got to see every dirty
Oh, they didn't cut
detail.
away. They didn't cut
Oh,
away
it
at
was
all.
amazing.
Oh,
No,
it was
I'm talking about
awesome.
later. That was well
Oh.
viewed, well
Oh, that was huge.
covered. It was
Ron
huge.
Artest, what a joke!
You just
It
go
was
look
You know,
at
we
it on
are
YouTube. It's
we
all
are
on YouTube.
forgetting one guy that I think is kind of an unsung, unknown. Billy Ray Bates was a
Oh.
guy with the Portland Trailblazers. He got himself into a mess of trouble. He didn't trust banks. He kept his paycheck in his pocket. He got in trouble with a little bit of. Also, I'm just saying that he might have been all time. He washed out of the league. You can actually go to eBay right now and get Billy Ray Bates sneakers. He used to high flyer. This kid dunked harder than any other Blazer ever. I think he was the best Blazer dunker ever.
He just
Still
couldn't put it
jacked
together.
up.
Just didn't have a male
He
figure.
just
in his
spiraled
life.
out of control. He just
Baby
couldn't
hands.
keep it in control. He couldn't keep it himself going.
Might be half.
Well, if you don't
Wow!
have
Rewind.
a bank account and you're carrying thousands of dollars in your pocket.
One of the the telecasters, the TV announcers, whoever it was, may have been Bill Shonley. He even in an interview said, "Poor Billy Ray. He came up to me one day and he had all his checks." And I said, well, you got to go to the bank, and you got to deal with those. And so he goes to the bank, gets them all cashed, comes back with all the money in his pocket. And they're like, no, kid, you got to put it in the bank. And he's like, I don't want to give them my money. He didn't actually understand the concept of them holding your money.
He just didn't trust
Dude,
banks. It's
I
crazy.
I was the same way. I mean, I'm not a high-time basketball player or nothing, but dude, just like maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I just opened a bank account for the first time since I was 18. That's 11, almost 12 years ago. So like, I don't trust banks either, but I realized, yeah, you got to use them to Cash your
All I
checks
know
and
is
shit.
every night Billy Ray was at the bar. Billy Ray buying drinks.
Oh,
And
hell
I'm,
yeah.
and I'm sure Billy Ray had a lot of fun in his entrance in the NBA. He was a Portland fan favorite. He was heavily sponsored throughout the Portland community. Even the Milk Council picked him up as a sponsor.
Oh, he was exciting.
He was exciting.
I
Playing
don't
with Darnell
remember much
Valentine.
about him, but I remember that he was exciting. People loved him. He
Flashed out. Thought he
Yeah.
was better than he was, and flashed out.
Well, to stay on the same topic, not to stretch too far off, Bill Walton, obviously a weed smoker. He followed the Grateful Dead around. He rode his bike.
Obviously an alternative lifestyle guy, right
Yeah,
down to what he
big
ate
time.
and
Does
how he
that
got
make
to.
it-
He
make
never-
him a jailblazer?
No. I'm just saying he never caught flack. No one questioned
You
him.
either be good or you be
Now,
good at it.
well, he did catch flack later in his career. He did. The media turned on him radically.
Well, he was a media, and then he turned into a media person.
And-
And then he turned on his beloved Blazers. And
yes, he did turn on the Blazers,
harasses them every time
and
he
that was
announces it.
that was part of it. He left the Blazers with bitterness, in the fans' mouths. The fans hated to see their iconic big redhead go with a guy that was riding his 10-speed bike down the highway and would sit and pick flowers with you on the side of the road.
Did anybody here watch that Rip City documentary, that 3-part, or that bar owner who wears a sailor's hat? African American gentleman. They had this bar back in the 70s that all the players would go to after the game, and Bill would park his bike outside. He ended up getting a bus. He'd give him rides home, so everybody would party at this guy's bar.
What a unique character. I will give Bill that. He ingratiated himself to the Portland community so well. He even just I've read these offhanded stories on internet forums. I was 14 when I met Bill Walton. He came to my house. He hung out with me for 2 hours talking about basketball and who I was.
Yeah, those days are dead.
Those days are done. Bill Walton rode his bikes to fans' houses just to talk with them. Wow. Can you imagine if Brandon Roy rode his BMX over to your house to talk basketball?
That'd be sweet.
That'd be really sweet.
Shit my pants.
He's got nothing to do right now. What's he doing?
Yeah, really. What's he doing?
on over.
Come on
Brandon Roy,
over,
come
Brandon.
visit me.
You know what? Standing invitation to Brandon Roy to be on House of Blazers anytime he wants. Brandon, if you hear about this, if you listen to this podcast, we're going to hashtag your name in this podcast, Brandon. We'd love to have you as a guest.
We'll love you. You can be our guest, and the beard will watch your kids while you're.
That's
while
right.
you're
It's
on
a
the,
total
Jesus
daycare facilities here. You can
yeah,
bring
we
your
got video
kids.
games.
We love to have Brandon Roy on this show
Throw that on me.
because
I wanna meet the guy, too.
in my opinion, he
Tater
should
tots.
almost retire his number.
Would he have to buy? Would he have to have quarters to play the games, or would you give
I
him?
give
all-
him quarters. I give
Okay.
Brandon Roy quarters.
All right.
Yeah, you can just put his drinks on my tab, man.
Hey,
All right,
that's probably not a good
that
idea.
Was
I don't
our
care.
little spurt, if you will, on our black-eyed jailblazer era.
sure, it was our dark period. If you want to talk about poets or paintings or art, that was the Blazers' dark period. Right there in 99, 2000, right in that era, the Jailblazer era.
Zach Randolph.
Zach Randolph, absolutely.
What's that story? Did you hear the story where they were they were at the practice facility and one of the rookies, I think it was Ruben Boomche was on the other side of the court, and Rasheed Wallace and Bonzi Wells, another Jailblazer, and one other guy were all sitting there, and Rasheed just cocked back, threw the ball across the court, and wham, knocked him out or something.
Well, he did. He
Who was
he
it?
could
I
have
don't
kicked
remember.
it. He could have thrown it. But yeah, Rasheed did toss a ball at poor Ruben Boomche. Probably one of the smartest Blazers we've ever had. A real class act. Big guy from
Senegal?
Africa. I'm pretty sure he even had a college degree and was going to be a doctor and stuff like that.
Wow.
Clocked him in the back of the head. He just didn't fit in with that Jailblazer
At
squad.
that time, it was a free-for-all. Maurice couldn't keep them together.
Well, Maurice, that's not his job. He wasn't there to keep things together. He was all like,
Bob Whitsitt couldn't do shit.
because they just got rid of who they fired right before Cheeks came in. Who was right?
Oh,
Dunleavy?
after Cheeks, it was Mike Dunleavy. and then
Dunleavy,
Cheeks.
yeah. So they wanted another players coach to be with all these all-stars that we
We
had.
took a lot of experiments, Blazer fans,
I
but
liked him. I liked
it's
Cheeks.
all over. It's Terry Stotts for life now. He's got the wheel of our ship.
Terry Stotts has 2 years.
Captain's at the helm. Captain's at the helm.
All right, what-
He might have just extended his stay here another season. It depends on what he can do with our roster through this kind of this break and stuff. So I think he's got 2 more years, maybe 3. If he doesn't do anything, get him out the door.
His career's in his hands. It's in his hands.
It's in our players'
You heard it
hands.
here. You heard it here first on the House of Blazers. I want to thank Coach Josh, Blazer Chad, and this man we call the Beard.
Beard
I am
don't lie.
Dr. Wheels.
Hell, that's what I'm talking about.